No one's recording.
Okay, it's recording. It was just.
It was just stuck.
It was just like pause.
Okay. Aubrey, it's great to see you again. Do you want to kind of pick up where we left off last time?
Yeah. I mean,
Wait, pause. Redo. That was poop. Okay, great.
Start.
Okay. So Aubrey, how are you doing today? It's good to see you again.
Yeah, it's good to see you too.
What's going on?
So this past week at work was really sucky. I think it might be relevant, so kind of wanted to talk about that some.
Yeah, sure. Tell me a little bit more about it. What's going on?
Okay, so I mentioned maybe during intake that I have was diagnosed with PTSD before, and so I think this plays into it some. I just started working at Starbucks, and there's this manager that I really don't like. She's kind of she's very how do I describe her? She's very cold and has a very harsh tone. That's the word I was looking for.
Mm-hmm.
And she can be very passive aggressive, but in an aggressive way, if that makes sense. So in particular, this Sunday that I was working with her, she I was making mistakes because I just trained, which is normal, right? You start a job, you make mistakes.
Right.
But I, for example, didn't pass out a coffee when I was supposed to, and she walked by me and was like, "Here's this blonde roast that these people were supposed to get 15 minutes ago," and very loudly, so the customers could hear.
It's
and
embarrassing.
Yeah, embarrassing, purposefully so, and just the tone she had, I guess we ran out of coffee and she blamed it on me and said, "Aubrey, why is this coffee not brewed?" And I told her, well, I mean, I'm not sure. I thought she was kidding because that's how ridiculous she sounded to me.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, "Well, you should know because this is your job," and just being very harsh and so my experiences with my traumatic experiences make it really hard for me when people are really aggressive or verbally angry, and so I started to get flustered and started making more mistakes, and she's getting more upset with me, and then I had a couple people come through the line that were upset because we were really backed up, and it just compounded, and I ended up having a panic attack. And so I, as soon as I got a break in clients, I was like, "Hey, I need to go to the bathroom," and started crying before I made it to the bathroom, and was able to pull myself together a little bit. But then I tried to go back to work, and she checked on me, and I told her that I had a panic attack, and she laughed at me and was like, "What do you want me to do?" And I started crying again, and she ended up sending me home, and it really sucked. And so I guess I'm just left feeling really ashamed about that. It was a really big blow up that over nothing. I feel stupid about it,
Yeah. So what I'm hearing you saying is that, got this manager at work kind of overbearing. Is that?
Yeah, and I think just honestly mean, someone who is mean and proud of it.
Yeah.
Kind of attitude.
Yeah. So somebody who's mean and you feel kind of is maybe picking on you a little bit. Is that?
Yeah.
Accurate.
Yeah, I feel she is nitpicking everything I do and not giving me any leeway. For being new, and I feel she's disappointed in me, I guess, and that's hard.
Yeah. So you feel you maybe can't live up to her expectations. Her expectation bar is pretty high.
Yeah. And I feel it should be more teaching focused for me as a new
rather
employee.
Than punitive.
Yeah.
What are the consequences that she's? I mean, tell me about how does she react after something you've done that you've messed up?
I mean, it's not, so there aren't like consequences, like I haven't gotten written up or anything because these are like, they're just mistakes because I'm new and there's like a lot that goes into being a barista, you know, like a lot of different specific things and details. But she just gets very like, did you do this wrong? I need you to not do it again. And so it's like, I think less about what she's saying and how she's saying it.
Mm-hmm.
That is just, it's very critical, and it's like I feel like I can't function when people talk to me like that.
Mm-hmm. So you kind of shut down.
Yeah.
Which in turn makes her more aggressive.
Yeah, because I shut down and then I move slower or I make more mistakes and then it just like it perpetuates the cycle.
Must be really difficult. It sounds like maybe this is triggering some of the stuff that you've dealt with in the past.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say that's really accurate. Yeah, so like it just in my past, there's like a lot of verbal abuse there and like different kinds of like family issues and things like that. I think it brings up a lot.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like I feel like I should be over that. Like I've done other counseling work and I feel like I should be able to handle it now by this point.
Yeah, you feel like some of that stuff's like bubbling up when it shouldn't be.
Yeah. And I think like it makes me feel like I maybe haven't done like good enough work or something. Like I thought that I did really good like counseling work and therapy work and like dealt with some of those things, but if it's coming up, like apparently not. I mean, so that's tough.
Yeah. So, kind of what I'm hearing, kind of the theme that I'm hearing is maybe like inadequacy. Is that maybe you're feeling a lot of inadequacy, like not just at work, but maybe with all the stuff that you previously dealt with that's bubbling back up unexpectedly? I don't know if that's true for you.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's true in a way. I don't know if I feel inadequate as much as I just feel like ashamed of it. I think maybe in the past I felt very confident in like the progress I've made, and so like the fact that I'm not living up to that progress is like I know shame producing.
Yeah. Tell me about shame. Tell me about that for you.
So like, what do you mean? Like how I experience it? Or,
yeah.
Okay. I guess it just turns into a lot of like beating myself up about stuff. Like, you're better than this. Like, what are you doing? Like, or like you must not really be as good as you think you are. Like, I mean, not those literal words, but that kind of like I don't know theme.
Mm-hmm.
It just turns into like bad self-talk, and then like I mean, it makes everything else a little harder.
Yeah, I bet.
Mm.
I bet the anxiety of it sounds like it's kind of a fast-paced, job,
Mm-hmm.
and that kind of on top of the stuff that's kind of bubbling up. That must be really hard.
Yeah, it's just like it's like a compound situation. I think like, I mean, I'm sure once I get more comfortable there, it won't be an issue.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, it's just like I think the overwhelming factor makes it difficult to like process and do well.
Yeah.
And also all of those feelings like bubbling up and like pouring over into that. I think.
Yeah. What's kind of worked for you in the past with your anxiety? Or is this kind of the first time you've experienced like this in the workplace, or has this happened before?
I think it's the first time I've experienced in the workplace for sure. And honestly, like it's the first time I've had like a full blown like panic attack like that in public.
Mm-hmm.
so, and it's actually the worst one I've had. So, like outside of like a counseling session. So, I mean, it was really kind of like, I mean, strange. But I mean, usually just using basic like, mindfulness techniques of like, because it does kind of, I think, become like very trauma-esque of like, I get tunnel vision and like a very PTSD-ish. I mean, because that's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And so just doing like grounding techniques or like breathing stuff is really helpful. And so, I mean, that's definitely like a practical thing that, I mean, to at least make it easier to like do day-to-day stuff.
Yeah. And then as far as, the relationship you have with your manager, what's that relationship like outside of, her being her being I don't want to say not nice, but her being kind of aggressive with you, I guess your words.
Yeah. I think like it's weird because she can be like funny and like warm and stuff to other people, and so I think that's making it harder for me, like get a clear picture of who she is. It's probably like making an unfair like image in my mind, but I guess other kinds of interactions, like since like that Sunday when like things blew up, I've asked her like when I feel like she's making a lot of comments towards me or something, like on a break or when things aren't busy, I'll be like, hey, Kayla, I just wanted to know if there's something like anything I can improve on for the rest of the shift, like that I can be thinking about. And usually she says that I'm doing fine.
Mm-hmm.
So like, I don't know if maybe it's just like she doesn't realize how she's coming off or something. Like, but yeah, I mean, so like outside of those moments, I mean, she's relatively like not engaging with me, just I mean, kind of like flat.
Right.
So I don't know.
Yeah. What I mean, is this a conversation you think you could have with her about maybe what you're experiencing, or at this juncture, is it like inappropriate at work? I don't know.
Yeah, I just feel like so after the whole situation happened, like my like main manager, because the Kayla, the individual who I had the like situation with, is my assistant manager. So the main manager texted me and was like, "Hey, are you okay? Like, what's going on?" And I, tried to be very like, professional, like politically correct about it, and just said, like Kayla had a frustrated tone, and it triggered like I have PTSD. It triggered some stuff I've dealt with, and had a panic attack, and I went home. Like I'll be fine. I'm sorry, I had to leave. Whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, I mean, that's been addressed, but other than that, I mean, I feel like it'd be weird to talk to her about, like, because I just don't think she even realizes it, and it doesn't feel like a safe place to, like, have that conversation, if that makes sense.
Right. It just doesn't feel safe. Like it's something that she could absorb right now.
Or, like, even get, I mean, like, she laughed at me when I was crying, so it's kind of like,
yeah,
nothing about that really makes me want to like.
What was that like for you when she laughed at you when you're kind of in this moment of panic, and what was that like for you?
I mean, like, I think even in the moment, I knew she like was laughing because she was nervous or like didn't know what to do and was like, oh my god. But honestly, it just made me feel really crazy. Like, that I don't know. I just felt really crazy, and very much like, God, like this is so abnormal. Like no one has emotions like this kind of like situation.
Kind of like you were alone, like.
Yeah, like I felt like an alien, kind of like something that she couldn't even believe, like was happening, or I don't know.
Or something that she like couldn't fathom, like.
Yeah, like no one does this. Like, why are you crying? That's ridiculous. Like that's I mean the vibe I got.
Yeah. I heard you say crazy twice. What do you crazy?
Um,
What is that word for you, I guess?
yeah, I think just like having like too many issues. Yeah, I think sometimes I feel really overwhelmed by just like my past and like all the stuff that's there. And so, yeah, I guess that's what crazy is to me. I'm just having like so much crap that's never gonna get any better. Um, so,
Do you kind of feel stuck right now?
um, I don't know. I guess I've never like thought of it that way.
And that I may be off.
Yeah. Um, so I don't know. I mean, if I feel stuck like right now, but I think in those moments, like it can be kind of like paralyzing. Um, I don't know that I feel like I can't get out of those like situations or that it'll always be that way, but like definitely when situations get like emotionally charged, I feel like this is always going to be who I am, and that is like paralyzing.
Yeah. Do you define kind of that as who you are? Is this like a defining thing? Do you think like this is who I am? This is always who I'm going to be?
Um, I think yeah, sometimes I would say that's true.
That's overwhelming. Is that overwhelming?
Um, yeah, I think like thinking about having to reframe like how I think about myself my entire life is just really like overwhelming.
A lot of work.
Yeah, it feels like a lot of work. I think maybe more than anything, it feels tiring. Like I'm just kind of tired of it. um, More than feeling stuck or overwhelmed. I think that's a really accurate word.
Just tired.
Just tired of it.
Wow, that must be really hard.
Mm.
What is it that you want to, what is it that you want, I guess, in that situation, what would have been helpful for you? Because it doesn't sound like it doesn't sound like the manager was, helpful. Her reaction was helpful. What would have like been helpful?
Honestly, like because it's funny, actually, a girl that I trained with was also working and got really like crisisy about it and was like, "Listen, like she's a B and like she's this and that, and you don't have to listen to her," and got really like overly supportive dramatic. And so I think like thinking about that, just like it would have been really been helpful for someone to just be like even keeled and calm and like, hey, like it's okay, like you're okay, like what's going on, just that kind of um just like steady like tone or steady like voice um would have been helpful. Honestly, like I think if Kayla would have reacted in a different way, it would have made a world of difference. If I could have just like talked to her and not felt like I don't know, judged or misunderstood about it.
Yeah. At what point in the conflict? At what point in the conflict do you think that if she would have been maybe more aware of what, like, kind of where you were at, where in the conflict would things have been, different or better for you?
Yeah. So like I had really like calmed down, and it was when she walked back and checked on me, like because I had come back to like work on some dishes to try to just do something easy for a second.
Mm-hmm.
She came and talked to me then, and that's like when I started crying again. And she laughed at me and was like, "Do you need a hug or whatever she was doing?" And I think then, if she would have acted differently, I would have been okay. It was just like I had just calmed down and it just like came back at like full force. I think if she would have been different, then I would have been able to like stay calm.
Yeah, that must be really hard. That must have been a really hard situation for you to be in.
Yeah, I mean, like at the time, it was really sucked. I mean, I'm still like feel really crappy about it, but like I don't know. I just have to do something different now, I guess.
Yeah. What do you think that that would look like? Kind of having some time to process what happened. What could you do differently in that situation?
Um, Maybe like I could have, you know, asked to talk to her sooner before I blew up or before I like lost control. Um, or I could have like taken, you know, 5 or 10 before I got really upset. Even if it was like busy, just taking that time to recenter.
So maybe a little bit more like self-care type.
Yeah, or just even being a little more like self-assertive and of like what I needed and not just like what they needed from me like working. Which that's embarrassing, right? To like, do you know, ask for like mental health like concerns while you're working at Starbucks. But if I would have done that sooner, it would